Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 5 of ALEC 241. Thank you for bearing in class with me this week as I was a little bit sick yesterday, a little behind in getting this video posted, but hopefully I'll do a little bit better job explaining some of the Facebook Live stuff and talking through some of the things you should be learning this week in this video. Here's what you need to do for week 5. Read part 4, chapters 24 through 38 from our book, and watch this video. I am posting it today, hopefully, as I've been sick, like I said. Online activity number 4 and your Facebook Live planning number 2 assignment are both due by Tuesday, next Tuesday, February 13th at midnight. So don't forget about those assignments. Now, as we briefly talked about in class, you do have an assignment number 2 due for your Facebook Live, and I thought we could look through it here really quickly. It'll be for 10 points. This is just to get you to keep advancing your work on setting up this thing and not waiting till the last minute. Now, I know some of you have your lives happening on Monday and Tuesday right away next week. So if you could go ahead and get through this assignment and send us your teaser posts for Facebook and Twitter, that would be great. Really, I just need the who, what, when, where, why of when you're going live so that you can send those to our office assistant, Jenny Gravely, jgravely2 at unl.edu, myself and Michael Ferguson. You could just email all three of us and we will get these things posted to our Facebook page for AESC. We want to let people know when you'll be live, where you'll be going live from, and who you are so that we can post a couple days ahead of time to try and encourage people to tune in. So that's what this first part of the assignment is. For the rest of you who are sort of still on track here, you're going to write your teaser posts. Now I see here that for Twitter we say within 140 characters. I know that has changed for Twitter since the last time I did this assignment. You can't have longer posts on Twitter now, so that's fine, but still keep them sort of reasonable and short. Include any photos or links or images that you think would be relevant or hashtags for us to use. There's a hashtag IANR that's out there. There's a hashtag This Is Kasner. Also include relevant accounts that you think we should tag in some of these posts and things as well. For the audio and video portion, this is sort of like mapping out a script, but I don't expect you to write out word for word what you will say, but I do expect you to have some bullet points in here. How will you introduce yourself? How will you let people know where you are, who you are, what you're doing in the intro? What will you show? What will be the background behind you or the things that you will move around and include? What will be in the body of what you say? Will you be interviewing someone? Will you be taking us on a tour of something? What are some facts and key information that you should be including in the body? Also, what will you show in that body? Will it be a stagnant background behind you? Will you be trying and attempting something or moving around? And then what will go in the conclusion? How will you point people to a site for more information? Or how will you wrap it up and tell them about the event for next year, whatever it might be, or yourselves as AESC students and why the event was important to you? Just make sure you describe how you're going to wrap it up. And then I want you to prove to me in this assignment that you definitely have permission to go live from the location you're planning to go live from. And we don't want to upset anyone and put them on camera if they don't want to be, or their event or that sort of thing. So you definitely need to have an email or a signed letter or something from an organizer of that event letting me know that it's okay for you to go live there so that we don't have any issues with that. All right, hopefully this assignment isn't too much of your time. It's about 10 points. You're really kind of going to do some writing the teasers and some bullet points about your content of your live shot, and then just proving to me that you do have permission to go live. So those are the big things for that. Just to show you quickly on Facebook Live how this works. Like I said, Michael Ferguson and I are both administrators on the AESC Facebook page. So what we can do is go to settings for the page roles, and then invite you to be an administrator. So I see, for instance, we already have Alice Akers and Brent Limmer as administrators, thanks to Michael adding them, so that they'll be able to use the page and go live from it. So when you log into Facebook Live, either the app on your phone or the iPad or whatever you're going to be using to go live, you'll need the Facebook Live app on there. And you will need to make sure you have the AESC page selected to go live from, so that you're not going live from your personal page. So you would be here on the AESC page, and then you're going to say start live video. And it'll do things like this, where you can select what camera you're using. This is obviously the camera on my other screen here, so it's not showing me very well. I can adjust it, that sort of thing. You would adjust the iPad to show what you're wanting to show. You would make sure the microphone is plugged in. You would test your sound. It has the audio levels over here. I would recommend you say something in the status bar about it, like students so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so are going live from such and such. Hashtag this is Kasner, or whatever it might be. So have a description about what you're doing. Give it a title, so that it has a title relevant to your event. Career Fair, Kasner Career Fair live video, or something like that. And tag it, give it things that it's related to, education, agriculture, whatever some keywords might be to tag it with. And then you click go live. And so you kind of want to, if you're behind the camera and you're running it for the person, you want to give them a little bit of a 3, 2, 1, click live, wait for it to go live, and then cue them to start talking, right? So that it doesn't start with them half talking already, or mid-sentence, or they haven't talked yet, and then they and then they finally start talking. I also recommend that you be very professional in these. Do not be giggly off the top, like, oh, are we live? You know, just be very professional right out of the gate. Give each other a nice countdown and get going. So again, watch some of the ones from last year to see what they did well and didn't do well. If you need help with the equipment before you go out, make sure you spend a little bit of time when you check it out from Jenny or myself or the student worker to practice with it for a minute here in the office. Again, you can borrow that wireless handheld microphone, but do not lose any of the pieces of it. The part that plugs into the iPad or the microphone, make sure you bring that back. I did put fresh batteries in it for the people that are going live here next week, so it will be ready to go. But make sure you take the gear, be ready to give this a try. I'm excited to see what you guys do. There's no wrong or right way. Okay, so moving into the heavy stuff a little bit more here, chapters 24 to 38 from the book talk about edit with your brain. So that means start seeing the world in shots, start thinking, how am I going to edit these shots together? You shot your sequences for the online activity, and how did you think in your mind, how are these shots going to edit together? The wide shot, medium shot, close-up shot. Always get the 3 shots of any scene, right? So always be thinking about how you're going to put those together. Focus your shots. Who is the main character? Who is the hero of that shot? What is the story you're trying to convey and tell? What is the action in that shot? Talks about the importance of practicing with your equipment, practice, 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 all of those sorts of things to make sure you're comfortable moving it around, that you don't feel clunky and awkward as you're moving around a scene and shooting video with your scientist and things like that. Then there are just a ton of tips in these chapters about keeping your shots short. I'm on the fence on that one. They say record about 10 seconds of a shot. Sometimes I say 20 seconds to make sure you're getting the action and things you want so that you have enough to cut up. Hold your shot steady, or get off the tripod and go handheld if you need to follow action and movement. Action and movement is better followed up close. If you're following it from far back, from a wide angle, you should probably put it on a tripod for a wide angle so that it stays steady in a wide frame. But if you're going to go handheld, it's better to be close to follow motion. Know when to move, zoom with your feet. Do not use the digital zoom on the iPads like we've been talking about. Excuse me. Pay attention to your lighting. Know where the light is coming from. Be careful if it's coming behind the person. It's going to blow them out from behind instead of on them. Shoot the details. Pay attention to what's going on in the scene. Like it has a shot of a lady's hands clasped in a close-up as she's listening to this important story someone's telling her, that sort of thing. So pay attention to all the pieces and details of a scene so that you can get close-ups of them to cut back and forth. Help your star look great. Pay attention to the background that's behind them, how you're framing them, where you're positioning the camera. Talk them through how to angle their body, how to sound, where to look, all of those things. And then establishing shots are very important. So if you're going to be going into a lab or a field site, you oftentimes as a photographer jump right into shooting the action and showing what's going on, but don't forget to go back and get establishing shots to set the tone so the viewer knows where you are. What are some signs that are around the place? What does the outside of the building look like? What does a big large shot of the room look like? So don't forget some of these tips. I'm not going to tell all of them to you in this video, but make sure you read through these chapters for these tips. Excuse me again, because in the online activity this week, you're going to explain what you learned from these tips to me and summarize them. Okay, so some other things that aren't in the reading this week that I hope you can kind of keep in mind and learn from the other book I used to use that I still like a lot. Talks about what motivates people to watch and care about your video and your characters and your people that are in them. Excuse me, I'll get through this. Sorry about that. We have Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you've ever heard of this, it's this pyramid of human basic needs. What motivates us to do things? We have on the very fundamental level physiological things, like we need to have food, we need to drink, we need to have shelter. These very basic things. At safety level, we need to have family and resources and our health. And then on more of a sociological piece, we need to feel like we're loved and belonged, and we have a family and we have a partner that cares about us. And then we want self-esteem and confidence and respect. And then at the very top is self-actualization, where we realize our own purpose and our own spontaneity and our own ability to problem solve and to be fair and sincere in what we do. So how does your video help people reach these different levels through how you're motivating them to care about your topic, right? So is it you're helping them feel safe by what the scientist is researching about our food and our environment, or are you helping them feel connected to the scientist on a relationship level? Are you hoping the video calls people to have their own self-actualization about this topic and how they can get involved? But I want you to think about this hierarchy of needs and how it plays into how we motivate people to care about our videos. Another thing that we don't talk a lot about in this class that's still very important, because we are going to be doing interviews and not necessarily writing, but if you ever do write narration for videos and even how you ask the questions and how people give you answers, is this idea of active versus passive voice. Passive voice would be an example like this. At dinner, a pizza was eaten by John. Now, we might write that way in print writing, but we do not speak or write that way for broadcast writing. In broadcast writing, we use active voice, so it's very much more direct, and we don't necessarily use all those clauses and commas, and we don't use to be and being verbs. We just say things very directly. John ate a pizza for dinner. Boom, done, right? Active voice. So make sure you kind of look up examples. What are the differences between active and passive voice? There's also this thing in broadcasting that people are doing that's really sort of unethical. They're starting to, anchors and reporters and producers are using this sort of verbless tense where they're like, tonight, President Trump says this. Well, he didn't say it tonight. He actually said it this morning. Or he actually said it 2 days ago, not today, not right this moment. So they're kind of using this verbless tense where they're making it feel like everything is happening right now, and it's not happening right now. But they're doing it because they're sort of the 24/7 news cycle of trying to make you feel like everything's immediate and happening now when maybe it happened a few hours ago. So be careful, be ethical in the verbs you're using and how you're using them. And just like our interview questions, how they were subjective versus objective, adjectives can be that way too, right? So if you use an adjective that you say this is a very critical issue that everyone needs to care about, you're already showing your biases and your intent and your perspective towards that issue by already calling it critical and important. But if you were to just say this issue is this, that's a lot different than the types of adjectives you might throw on there to make it seem critical and important in those things that you believe it is. So just pay attention to some of this ethical stuff. Keep an eye on, how to write for broadcasting, active versus passive, verbalist tense, and then how and when you're editorializing with adjectives and what goodness, in what you write and narrate and things like that. So sorry, almost done. So hopefully in class this week you got your footage that you've been shooting with your classmates, the practice interview, and the B-roll off of your iPads onto your computer. Hopefully you have Adobe Creative Cloud loaded on your machine. You can open Premiere Pro. Next week we're going to move into looking at some of the stuff you've been shooting on the monitors around the room. And then also we're going to start adding the A-roll and B-roll to your Adobe Premiere timeline. Now, I did want to go back to something that I feel like I also did not cover very well in class. For your online activity where you shot the sequence of videos, I'm going to be giving you some feedback, but I'd also like you in your free time to go and watch some of your classmates' videos to get an idea of what they did. So I want to give you an example. Not picking on anyone, but I just want to talk about this. So here's a wide shot, right? The horse walks up, and then a little bit of a jump cut because the horse was still in the frame and now the horse is in the frame again, but she had the transition in the editing there. And a little bit of a jump cut again because now it didn't walk out of frame, but there it is. Turn this shot horizontal for me, use all your pixels. And then here we have another wide shot. So we had a nice flow of action in and out of the scene. And love this, love hearing from her, love seeing her. A little bit of jump cut as the horse is still always in the scene. Here he walks out, now he walks in, not a jump cut right there. Very nice. Some ways you could get rid of some of the other jump cuts is showing close-ups of things, right? Close-ups of the saddle, close-ups of the harness, close-ups of his feet, close-ups of her face or hand. Here we're seeing more close-ups. This is awesome. Cleaning the hoof, putting on the blanket. So you're definitely taking us through the process of what's happening through some interesting shots. If you remember reading and learning about that 180-degree rule in class, kind of playing with it, I can see where you drew your 180 line sort of right through the middle of the horse's body and stayed on the side around the face so that you're not breaking the 180 degree. But here's another medium shot, close-up shot. This is great. This is perfectly how you would sequence video, from wide to medium to close-up, wide to medium to close-up to tell the story. That was not a jump cut because it went from our hands out of the scene to this. It's a medium shot. Close-up of it, and then coming out of frame. So this is beautiful. Very, very well done. So and then this to me is, an establishing shot, where we are, what's going on, the broader shot. Love the cat running in the scene. And then going out of the pin. Definitely tells the story. A little bit of a jump cut there. But we can use dissolves and things. Love the close-up of the cat and then walking through. It's a very interesting shot. But these are great, you guys. I hope you feel like you gained something by practicing shooting the sequence outside of class. I want to show you another one here that I watched. There are plenty of them to go through, but go to your classmates' folders and check some of them out. Here's another short one that I saw earlier today. Walks into frame, goes up to the vending machine, flips to the other side. Close-up of placing the order, medium shot of it falling out, close-up of getting it, and then walking, happily away with her snack. So definitely a great way to break it into shots, right? Sequence, but in 20 seconds, something that in real life probably took a couple minutes only took 20 seconds in video broken down into those shots. The other thing I want to talk to you about are your interview questions that you submitted and wrote. I will give you feedback as well on these, but just to give you an idea of what some of your classmates are also coming up with, right? We talked about starting with, tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, what projects are you working on, and then things like where do you teach and present and what topics are you covering? And then why is your work important to the state of Nebraska? That's a great question. What is it about your job that you love? That's a great one as well. What do you hope to do in the future? What vision do you have for this project? And then things like what is the inspiration for this project? What makes it unique? I think these are all great questions, and I think you should work with your classmates to hear about some of the questions they're going to be asking. I would recommend that maybe if you're working on a corn board topic, you ask a question related to how is the corn board funding helping this work, or how does the partnership with the corn board and the university help with funding your work and what you're trying to find out for the corn board constituents. Also, don't be afraid to ask, the questions to sort of steer their research. Don't just say, tell me about your research. You can, but then they're going to give you a long answer to that. But tell me about what is your research question? What data are you collecting? How are you analyzing it? What conclusions are you finding? Kind of give them a framework for walking you through the scientific process as applied to their research. But you also have a lot of great questions here, like what happens next in this process of discovery? What is your favorite aspect of your research? What is the coolest part of your research? How do you hope it changes the field? And then asking them what's visual about their work and if they have anything that they can share with you to utilize in your project. I think you guys have a lot of great questions here. I would just continue to work on them a little bit, and I will give you feedback. But I think, definitely take the time to talk to your classmates about what they're going to be asking as well, to see if they have any tips for you or interesting questions that you want to roll into yours as well. All right, I look forward to seeing how it goes with the first couple of Facebook Lives. Let me know if you have any questions about these upcoming assignments. Online Activity 4, Facebook Live Planning number 2, due by Tuesday, February 13th. Thank you for putting up with my cold and my rambling, and I hope you guys have a great week 5.